When we think about love, we often think of it as a single, steady emotion. We talk about falling in love, staying in love, or losing love. But if you look at the way poetry captures the human experience, it's much more complicated than that. In the Home Book of Verse, Volume 2, Burton Egbert Stevenson presents a collection that isn't just a series of poems, but a psychological journey. It's a survey of Eros, tracing the way desire moves through a human life, starting with the chaotic, unpredictable energy of youth and moving toward a sense of spiritual permanence. The journey begins in what the collection calls the April dawn of passion. This is the time of youthful, unbridled emotion, and it's personified by Cupid. In these early stages, love is presented as something almost deceptive. It's not just a feeling, it's a force that can be both divine and deeply chaotic. Cupid is portrayed as a mischievous figure, someone who can bring life-giving joy one moment and a wounding, unpredictable sickness the next. This is the era of the green, passion vibrant, growing, and often volatile. There's a tension here that runs through much of the book, the question of whether it is better to live a life of safe, unfeeling dreams or to embrace the actual wounds that come with real, messy human connection. As the poems move forward, the focus shifts from simply feeling these emotions to trying to make them last. This is where the imagery of architecture comes in. The poets in this collection often try to build palaces of love. They use verse as a way to construct monuments that can withstand the decay of time or the destruction of war. There is a desperate, beautiful impulse here to take something as fleeting as a glance or a touch and turn it into something solid, something that can stand against the horns of Rome or the relentless march of years. During this middle period, we see the beloved being elevated. The person loved is no longer just a physical being, but is transformed into a divine ideal or a fixed star in the lover's sky. But this idealism is constantly being challenged by reality. As the morning of life passes, the poems begin to deal with the complexities of social status and the quiet dignity of unrequited love. We see the figure of the henchman, the silent admirer who finds a sense of purpose and nobility in serving a lady from a higher station, even if that service will never be returned in the way he dreams. However, the collection doesn't stay in the realm of romantic longing for long. It takes a much darker, more visceral turn as it explores the barriers that actually keep people apart. One of the most striking metaphors used is the image of a beck or a small stream. In the beginning, it's something a pair of companions can easily step over. But as time and fate intervene, that small stream widens into an impassable river. It represents the inevitable forces, time, social duty, or distance, that drive people away from one another. This leads directly into the heaviest part of the collection, the exploration of mortality and grief. The tone shifts from the heat of passion to the coldness of loss. We see the white figure of a corpse and the heavy silence of the grave. There are narratives of tragic loss, where the grief is so profound that lovers either die of a broken heart or choose to follow their partners into the afterlife to find a final, permanent reunion. We see characters like Lucy, who becomes a personification of lost beauty as she is reclaimed by the natural world. In these moments, nature isn't just a backdrop, it's an active, almost predatory force that claims the beautiful and the young, leaving only a legacy of grief behind. But the collection doesn't end in that darkness. There is a resolution, though it's a very different kind of love than the one we started with. The green passion of youth eventually gives way to the golden stability of marriage. This is the transition from the volatile energy of desire to the seasoned, resilient virtue of long-term devotion. The love that remains is no longer a sudden lightning strike, but a steady, enduring light. This is where the Elizabethan sonnets play a major role in the collection's logic. They offer a way to defeat death through the power of the written word. The argument is that while physical beauty must inevitably wither and bodies must return to the earth, the act of writing about someone preserves their essence forever. The poem becomes the ultimate monument, a way to achieve the permanence that the architectural palaces of earlier poems could only dream of. The collection concludes with a profound meditation on duality, using the moon as its central symbol. It makes a distinction between the public side of a person, the persona we present to the world, and the private side, the sacred, hidden essence that is shared only with the beloved. It's a beautiful way to end the journey. We start with the chaos of Cupid, where love is something that happens to us, often against our will, and we end with a state of spiritual certainty. The journey moves from the external chaotic impulses of desire to an internal, indestructible force that transcends the limitations of human language and the finality of the grave. When we look at the collection as a whole, we can see several recurring themes that tie these different stages together. One of the most prominent is the tension between transience and permanence. The entire human experience, as presented here, is a struggle against decay. Whether it's trying to build a marble palace to house a feeling or using a sonnet to freeze a face in time, there is a constant effort to make the temporary eternal. There's also a fascinating use of nature as an agent of fate. In many literary works, nature is just a setting, but here, it's a character. It's the moaning pines that reflect human sorrow, and it's the bitter sea that claims the lovers. Nature is the force that both gives life and ultimately takes it back, acting as the ultimate equalizer that humbles even the most grand human passions. We also see what might be called the architecture of emotion. The poets use physical structures, highways, paths, palaces, and rivers to represent the scale and visibility of human feeling. A love that is public and grand is like a highway. A love that is private and hidden is like a secret path. This helps the listener visualize the weight and the movement of emotion as it evolves from the rush of youth to the steady pace of old age. Finally, there is the paradox of language itself. The collection seems to grapple with the idea that human speech is fundamentally imperfect. We try to use words to capture something that is often silent or spiritual. There's a sense that the most profound loves are those that eventually move beyond what can be said, reaching a state of being that is felt rather than described. In the end, Stevenson's collection suggests that love isn't something we outgrow. Instead, it's something we refine. It starts as a wild, unpredictable energy that can break us, but if it is nurtured and survived, it becomes the very thing that gives life its lasting meaning. It moves from the physical to the spiritual, from the visible to the hidden, and from the temporary to the eternal. It's a map of the human heart, tracing its path from the first spark of desire to the quiet, steady glow of a soul that has finally found its center.